Hi, 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 and welcome to session 5067 of 12 Days of Creativity. No, I have no idea what session this is. I think session 8, 9, 50, 60, 70, 90. It's like children counting. Welcome to 12 Days of Creativity, a music production challenge where we will be making music this autumn. But the whole idea is to finish a track if you can. But the whole idea is to look into yourself for your creativity and figure out how does your brain tick when it comes to creativity. And why do you get creative blocks? Why do you feel anxiety about releasing? What is release day blues? All these things are being discussed in this series. And the idea is that you're going to be making a plan or workflow in 12 that is to make a track in 12 days. Whew! That's a mouthful. How does this challenge work? You join these bi-weekly masterclasses from September to November, and you watch my live streams to see Ableton Live and production techniques in action. So the whole thing is that you will have 12 days to create a track. So you can have and go and download the 12 days creativity planner from the link down below. There's a nice PDF that you can fill out. And if you don't know how to fill it out, go to the workflow session that we did couple videos ago. So everything is in the 12 days of creativity playlist on my YouTube channel. So all the sessions, everything is explained there. So please go there to check out how to fill out this. We're going to talk about it a little bit more today as well in today's session. Complete the challenge at your own pace, and you can join this challenge at any time, whenever you want, even if it's 2060. I don't care. Welcome to joining whenever you are. Whenever you are. Wow. Wherever you are and whenever you are. This became very futuristic conversation. Sign up below for updates, extra tips, and giveaway details. So that's on my website. It's the event, and you need to sign up there to know how to submit for the giveaway. For details, workflow, sign up for my online course. I have an Ableton Live online course on my website that I've done with lots of love, and it's all my information that I know about production. It's 8 hours long, and it has everything that you need to know, and you can get minus 25% off using code 12DOC 2024. Also, if you want to join my loveliest community and talk to a lot of amazing people, join my Patreon community on £1 a month. So it's very, very cheap, and you can join the Discord channel for me, and you can talk to me and lots of nice people. So this far we have 3 12 days of creativity tasks. We have study what type of music you want to do, define your goal, create a step-by-step workflow in your 12 days of creativity planner, adjust your workflow to include smaller steps, to make sure your process is fully focused on your enjoyment and making music you enjoy. So I recommend you go back into the sessions and look at all the sessions to for the information, because I built this so that it's like, it all makes sense when it's like, if you watch them in order. Giveaway. The main prize is Baby Audio gift plugin bundle and one of my online courses. Which one you want? There's Push 2 course, Push 3 course, Push Live Performance course, and the Ableton Live full course worth £160. So you can win that. There's a second giveaway. The person sharing most about their process on social media will win LNA merch and one of my courses as well. And just remember, tag me. LNA does audio stuff there. DistroKid. Hey, just a quick reminder that DistroKid is the sponsor of this event, and I'm so glad that they are, because I use their products and their website to publish all my music. So I just want to quickly show one of the features on their website. So these are tracks that I've released this year. Your Heat is the one that you just heard in the intro, and one of the things that they offer on their website is master a track. And mastering is something that I know that a lot of people find like it's a taboo. It's a whole thing. I have actually a whole series about mastering on my YouTube channel. If you don't know what mastering is, how to do it in Ableton Live, you can find that there. But if you are like me, that you need things sometimes fast, so example, I want to hear how my demo sounds when it's mastered and I just want to be fast, I find that this is a really good tool. Or let's say that you can't afford professional mastering, and you also don't have the time to learn everything by yourself, or you feel that you just want to get something mastered fast. I do recommend this because it's doing great job with it. So if I can just put a non-mixed file there, and now it's going to probably take ages. I wanted to show you the difference between unmixed and mixed. But I probably should have done this before this stream, because otherwise it's now going to be taking ages. Great. Well, all I can say that what it does is that it does dynamic processing, a little bit EQ, but in the actual when it gives you different versions, it gives you options on how to EQ it. So you can make it a little bit brighter or quite like neutral or a little bit deeper from the low end. So I really appreciate that. And also it gives you a little bit dynamic processing options as well. So you can make it very dynamically limited, or you can make it very dynamic. So, oh, it's almost there. Let's have a look quickly. Oh, maybe it was slower than I thought. Yeah, we're not gonna look at that, but it gives you those options, and it's actually really, really useful, and I recommend having a look at that. And what happens, so example, you can see here, I have used this because, well, sometimes I want something to hear as a fast, even if I want to master it later by myself, or even if I don't, I can just use here. You can download different versions from the options that you have decided. So you can decide if you want to have it very dynamic, less dynamic, more EQ, less EQ, all that. It's very, very practical, fun little tool. And even if you master tracks by yourself, like me, it can still be a useful tool if you have demos, if you have something that you want to hear how it sounds when you have all the processing on it. It's still useful. Cool. So that was about our sponsor. Thank you so much, DistroKid, for sponsoring this series. And now let's get to this workshop. Oh, before that, hi, Sophie.
Hey, I'm here.
Sophie, aka Cherry Seraph, is here. Our
Hey.
gorgeous hyper pop queen.
Hey.
So she's here to help us with the monitoring. And if you have questions for me about this session, Sophie will be here on the background, chilling in her gorgeous hoodie, looking at your questions, and she will ask me them in the end of the session. So ask things, ask away, and I will be getting the questions from gorgeous Sophie later.
Cool.
Bye, Sophie.
Bye.
That every session just cracks me up. It's like, by the way, and then she's like, hello, I am here. Okay, creative thinking models and productivity. This topic is one of my favorite. To be honest, every single week I say that it's my favorite, but I just feel like honestly, everything is from my book. So I've written a book about these topics, and the book comes out next year. And I just, honestly, I've been writing it for 5 years. So I'm so ready for it to come out. And now I'm excited to already start sharing this stuff with you a lot. So this is something that changed the way that I think about creativity and my creativity completely. But let's just start quickly from one of our first sessions. So in one of my first sessions in 12 Days of Creativity, I talked about the quartet of creativity. This is a theory that I have personally invented. It's a way for me to illustrate how I personally see this whole topic, because it has so many aspects and it's really hard to summarize. So quartet of creativity is basically saying that we have 4 different aspects that affect our creativity and our confidence as creatives. And one of them is obviously we have heart, so our psychology, our self-confidence, everything that we have, our self-worth, how we feel about ourselves and our identity. Then we have brain, which is neurology, how our brain works. So example, as a neurodiverse person, I'm very aware that some stuff are in my neurology of like making me act a certain way or think a certain way, but everybody has something that makes their brain there, because we're all unique. And I think we're all unique and all beautiful, just the way we are. I'm very tired today, so today's going to be a very restless session, so stay with me. Then we have third one is space, and space is sociology, the world, the industry, environment, our family, our friends, everything that is surrounding us all the time. The music industry, the way that like gatekeepers, everything. And our last session was about this. space. So please go and watch that because it's so important topic, so important. And today we're going to talk about action, the physical action of being creative. So the thing about quartet of creativity is that if one of these things is kind of off at any point of your creative process, it will impact the other ones. So heart will impact brain, brain will impact space, space will impact action, and so on. And it becomes a circle. And that's where creative blocks happen. And that's why in this series of videos, I'm talking about them one by one, well, mostly space and action a lot, because it's so much to cover. So when you have my book, you can actually read each one of them and really dig into it. But it's hard to there's so much impacting our creativity, so much impacting our flow. And today we're going to talk about action. Action. So we've been talking about workflows, and workflows are one of my favorite aspects of creative process. But your workflow gives clarity to your goals and defines success for you. Absolutely it does. But understanding how your creative thinking works allows you to organize when and how you to create. That is English. Kinda. So organize when and how you create. I don't know what that too does there, but I am very dyslexic, so it is there. In the best possible way to you. So what I'm trying to say with this, with my dyslexic brain, is that workflows give you step-by-step guides, right? They give you a recipe to follow. And I've been talking a lot about workflows in this series already. Go and have a look at those workflow videos because those explain what is a workflow. And it gives you a defined goal. What is your definition of success? Example, I want to finish a track. That's your definition of success. Your success is not to get 100,000 streams. Your success is not to get validation from your mom. Your success is to finish a track. So workflows give you those steps. But what we're talking about today is understanding how creative thinking, so how does your brain, so if we talk about how does the brain, so your brain, the brain that's been given to you, affects the action. So how does your brain waves affect and how you create the best possible way to you. One of these things we already covered in one of the sessions, which was that example as someone who struggles with decision fatigue means that I need to make all my big decisions in the morning, because the more tired I get during the day, the less I can make big decisions. It's just something that is very, very particular for my brain. And it might be that you feel that way as well. But I know that I cannot work certain things in the afternoon. So I need to create my plan and my creativity around that kind of stuff. How does my brain work? Some people might create the best during the night. Some people might do things best during the morning. So you need to think, how does your brain work and how can you make that best for your creativity? And also what you have to offer in life, because you might have responsibilities, you might have you might just not have time or headspace. So you need to build your expectations around your creativity around what you have to offer in your life right now. So example, if you have a family and you have 5 kids, you need to think, okay, well, how can I get an hour of time a week to be creative, example? But then how can you, so that's a workflow, is how can you have that 1 hour, is to time block that time for yourself. But then inside of that hour, how can you find peace and headspace and calmness for yourself to sit down and make some music for an hour? Plan can help. So this is workflow. This is what we've been talking before. So you can go and download this planner from the link down below. So example, This is just an example plan that we have created. So example, create chords in day 1, day 2, find a motive, day 3, create a solo, day 4, kick and hi-hat, and so on. And then we started to now put these like more particular steps under these steps. So we started to plan even further, research hi-hat patterns and how in house music, create MIDI patterns, choose samples, create groove pull, and so on. So you need to like, and again, workflow is something that you can escape from, but only when it serves you. When you feel blocked and you feel panicked, this is something that you can come back to and it will give you a direction and guidance. So now we're going to think about what happens inside of this. Okay, so we have 12 days in, let's say, a month that we need to create. How do I arrange these 12 days in my life? Where do I find the time? And where should I put them? And is there ways that I can actually, let's say that you have the day 1 and you need to create a chord pattern. Let's say that it's been a very tough week. You don't have the headspace. You don't really feel like making music. You're quite tired. You're hormonal, because I'm currently that, and I don't really feel like doing things. So how can you make something that you find inspiration inside of all that? Well, creative thinking models can help you with that. Action, sitting down to make music. Okay, this is what I was saying. Let's say that you have that one day and you want to go and you have one day in a week that you can make music and you have 1 hour. You sit down to make music, and that's the action of like, let's do that now. Let's sit down, let's make the music. Things that start to flow into your head. Equipment. Maybe you feel like you don't have enough equipment. Maybe they're jamming. Maybe there's technical difficulties. Maybe you don't have enough time. Maybe you feel like you don't have enough knowledge. Maybe you feel like you should know more music theory to be able to do it. Maybe you get pressures around, you feel pressure because now you feel guilty because you have those 5 kids waiting for you and you're here in your broom closet. I don't know where you make music, but you're here taking your time. You want to create something for yourself and you feel that guilty, or you feel like there's a pressure on you then to make something amazing because you've taken this time. Maybe there's like stuff like this. Maybe affects your confidence. Maybe, you don't have the confidence suddenly to make the best beat ever because you only have an hour to do so. Perfectionism. You feel like you need to make the best track ever now because you finally have the hour. Now you need to be creative. Focus. You feel like, okay, maybe the 5 kids are banging the door. I don't know where these 5 kids are coming now, but, maybe they're banging the door, or there's emails on your phone, or you feel like, there's like distractions constantly and you can't focus. So constantly, whenever we sit down, we like to romanticize creativity. We like to romanticize the fact that every time we sit down making music, none of this happens. But when we have a limited time, and we have issues around us, and there's distractions in ourselves and in the outside world, things can happen. And this is often creates a friction because, yes, I needed to just check what I'm talking next. This creates friction because we want to create something that we're happy with, but we feel like, how do we get to that point? How do we find that headspace? Because what we often do is that we're trying to create, critically analyze, and learn things at the same time that we're trying to create. So let's say that we have a limited amount of time that we need to create something. So we're trying to create in that broom closet while the kids are banging the door. We're trying to critically analyze what we're creating, and we're trying to learn. Maybe you're learning equipment, or maybe you have a new plugin you want to try out. you have an inspiration, but same time you're trying to constantly think, okay, but how do I make it so that it gets more streams in Spotify? You're trying to constantly criticize it and analyze it from these perspectives. You're constantly thinking, okay, well, how can I make it this worth of my time? How can I make this, perfect? How can I make it? You're constantly through this filter of the outside world. You're trying to constantly analyze it and also trying to think what you like. So create, critically analyze, and learn at the same time. Is this still making sense? Are you following? Hopefully you're following. Cool. Okay. Sophie is not in there, so I'm taking her word on it. So when we are trying to create, critically analyze, and learn at the same time, we can feel creative blocks. We can start to feel fatigue, feeling overwhelmed, feeling lack of self-confidence and self-worth. This is the thing. You have the 1 hour to create. You go and sit down, you start creating, and nothing is coming out. What in earth is happening? Why is it happening? And then you start blaming yourself because it must be your fault because everybody else can do it. Why can't you? But the fact is, we all feel this and we feel it all the time. And that's why this is where I would tell you to go back to your workflow and start working through that. But what if that's not even helping? You feel uninspired. You just still feel like the workflow is not helping. Nothing is helping. You just feel all these things. Well, I want to talk to you about creative thinking models. Yeah. So this means that it's reduced productivity. That was a good slide, by the way. I wanted to show that there. I missed it. So when we try to create, critically analyze, and learn at the same time, we feel all these things, which then reduces productivity. Because when you know that you're going to go and have the time to create, but suddenly all these overwhelming feelings overtake you, you feel like you can't produce. You feel like you can't do that. So you start avoiding it more and more and more. You start not doing the 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week. You start avoiding your equipment. You start feeling like you don't want to do it even in the first place because you know that it's going to affect your it all affects your creativity. You feel like you're not good enough. All those things are coming into you, meaning you're not creating. Whew. Creative thinking models. Okay, let's talk about them. This theory by psychologist called J.P. Guildford is brilliant. This just blew my mind, literally, when I learned about this. He introduced them in 1956. He's one of these people who's been studying flow and creativity for a long time. Interesting opinions and some stuff, but this one, this is great. So he says that there is divergent thinking and convergent thinking. So divergent thinking is when you use your imagination to pull out ideas. You have a question or you have a goal. Let's say that we have a goal to make a track. I want to sit down, I want to create something. So divergent thinking is just using your imagination. It's also called brainstorming. It's just throwing ideas. Nothing is wrong, nothing is right. Everything's just like flowing ideas. You're just letting ideas come through. Where then convergent thinking is using your logic. It's you have the question and you're using facts to kind of connect whatever is happening there. So this is example, you're critically thinking your ideas. Is this the right genre? Is this intro too long? Is this chorus too long? Should I make this, should I have too many layers to this? Should I do this? Should I have that? It's all these little decisions that you need to make, right? What did I say? We try to create, we try to critically analyze and learn at the same time. And this is what we're doing. We're trying so often to do these two things at the same time when we create. We're trying to use our imagination, but at the same time, let's say that you have an idea, let's use a synth. Oh, this synth is great. But same time, your brain is also going, no, that synth is not good for this. That synth is no. So you're constantly argumenting with yourself in your brain saying no, 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 no. And this can become a little bit of a problem because that no, that logic is not anymore logic. That is part of reality. It's part of your anxiety. And anxiety is a fear that is not attached to reality. Anxiety is an imagination of things that could go wrong. It's a protective measurement of your body telling you, trying to keep you protected. Don't use that synth because it's embarrassing, because people will laugh at you. Don't create too big intro because of this reason or this reason. So example, people are not going to listen on Spotify because they, you get a stream only if people listen to your track more than 30 seconds. So you start questioning everything through the filter of fear and anxiety and imagination of worst case scenarios. So this happens so much because all these things that happen around us while we try to create. Okay? So how can we use this understanding of these models in our music production? How about producers? What if we split our creative process in 3? So I'm not suggesting for 2, I'm suggesting 3. Because as someone who uses technology as our creative tool, learning is a big part of it. So when you are trying to create, don't go to YouTube to look at how to use your DAW. Don't go to YouTube to figure out how to do this or do that or that. Think about it as maybe first doing divergent thinking, then doing convergent thinking, and then doing learning. Schedule them in. Think about them as separate things, separate entities. And as soon as I started to think about this and think about them as separate things that you can schedule in, bloody hell, it helped. Because it honestly just makes so much more sense. Example, divergent thinking is brainstorming. Maybe you have a notepad and you start just drawing ideas, lyrics, maybe even synths or whatever. Going for walks, talking with somebody, move. For me, it's a big thing. Inspiration is the fact that I example, just talk with friends and we go for walks and we just have that is massive amount of brainstorming for me of just talking about things, reflecting things. Other one, gear limitations. Example, take your laptop, go into a cafe for an hour, sit down there and just start pulling out ideas. Time limitations, have an hour idea and just to do divergent thinking, just to add samples, but to do whatever you do. The most important thing about divergent thinking is that there is no judging and there's no saying no. That doesn't exist. You can't say no to any idea that comes through you. That's the rule of your session. So you will only say yes to everything, and there's no goal. There's just pulling ideas, just throwing them in, just playing, having fun, and just and that's the rule of the hour. Because what you can then trust is that in your workflow, you have created space for your convergent thinking. So you don't need to make good decisions at that divergent thinking hour. You don't need to make the hit song. You don't need to make the best decisions because you can trust that next week you will do some convergent thinking. That's the time that you will take your ideas that you have just pulled out and you reflect on them and you will think about, okay, what's the goal here? What do I want to make? So example, personally, I like making as LNA, I make melodic house. Okay, how do my ideas serve melodic house? Which sounds sound like something that I can use in these songs? What sounds I can use some stuff like I wouldn't have suddenly a distorted guitar solo there. But maybe I can take that distorted guitar solo because I felt so inspired suddenly to make a heavy metal guitar solo. I don't know why, but that's how I felt. I could take that and sample it and then with critical thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what if I take that and I sample it and I put a lot of effects? Maybe I can create a little motive for one of my melodic house tracks. So that is using your critical thinking and making a plan to use whatever you have created and turning it to something that serves your purpose. Use workflow to keep on the path towards your goal. So again, this is where you use your workflow. You have the 12 days that you have planned, and you can now say, okay, day 1, we can have divergent thinking. Let's just pull out some ideas. Day 2, we can have convergent thinking. Okay, what if we use day 2 is all about drums. So you use the material that you have pulled out already on the day 1, and you will create drums out of whatever you have. And while you do this, be kind to yourself and remember that all ideas are still good. Everything that you created while doing the divergent thinking, none of it is wrong. Because you can't fail. That's just the fact. There's no wrong and there's no right. So just remember that all the ideas that you did on day 1 are still valid. They're still good. They just might not serve the purpose or the goal that you're doing right now. But it doesn't mean that they're wrong or that they're bad. They're just for a different project or different time, or they're just random thing that happened. And it's okay. You know what I mean? And third, you can schedule this separately. Learning. Use separate time to learn the new skills. And this is important. Remember that the skills you have at the time of creating are enough. You don't need to all the time be learning or something new. You don't need to be better. You are okay as you are at that moment, because you can't be anything else. You can't be anything else at that moment. So if you wait, constantly thinking that you need to wait for 10 years to be the perfect producer, you're going to waste all those 10 years of not creating anything, because you're constantly living in that future you that doesn't exist yet. So remember that whatever skill level you have production-wise is enough. Whether you are producing with a phone, that is enough. Just create something with your phone. You don't need to have the best gear, the best equipment. You don't need to have the knowledge. You don't need to have music theory knowledge. You just press buttons that make sounds and have fun with it and create something, because nobody in this world has the right to say what's right and what's wrong, or what's art and what's not art. That's just the fact. Nobody can argue with that. Because yes, there is genres, there is all these gatekeepers saying what's supposed to be where and all this, but that's not the game that you are playing yet. You can play that game, absolutely, but then if you want to have streams, if you want to have recognition in a certain genre, then you need to know the rules of the game before you play it. But before that game, or in a separate aspects of that game, you can just create. And whatever skills you have, that's fine. If you want to learn the rules of the game, that's learning. Schedule that separately. Learn what is melodic house, what is typical for melodic house, what kind of synths are used in melodic house, what does it sound like, what kind of goes into the playlists, and so on. You will never know everything. That is just a fact. You will never, ever, as much as you keep on learning, you will never learn everything. So learn to embrace the skills and tools you have now. And avoid when I will have this and know all this, finally I can make good art thinking. Like, just avoid thinking that one day you will be good. You're good now. Just embrace that. You'll be fine. You are exactly where you are now, and your art now is not any more valid or less valid when you are 10 years from now. So example, if I look at my debut album that I created with no knowledge, I did create it in Ableton Live Lite and GarageBand. How dare I would say that is less valuable, that album, than whatever I make now. It's a folky pop songs and stuff that I created when I was 17 to 25. And it's very unique. It's rough. It's raw. But how dare would I say that it's any less value because I didn't know anything about production or mixing or recording. I knew enough just to get it together. But it's not less than what I make now just because I know more about production. So, yeah, I feel very passionate about that. Don't put yourself down. How dare you? So knowledge does not make you better. It doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you better artist. It might make you better mixing engineer or better push user or Ableton user, but it doesn't make you better artist. It just gives you more tools and perspectives to utilize. That's all. But art is already in you. The ideas are in you. And learning is just how to utilize and how to put some of those ideas into into actual world. So, yeah, I told you. So in the next session, we will learn more about practical techniques for healthy productivity and time management. So we will take what we learned in here about divergent thinking, convergent thinking, and learning, and we will start looking at ways that we can utilize workflows as well as these creative thinking models in a more healthier productivity. What does healthy productivity look like? So we've been talking a lot about goals and what definition of success, and it's a lot to do with all that. Is why do you feel like you don't feel productive? Often, we already talked about it, is this feeling that you sit down by your computer and suddenly everything just comes flooding in. And if you feel that all this is stopping you, or some aspects are stopping you, then you need to look at those and understand that those fears are just your protective measurement. It's fight or flight. And what your body is doing is not fighting, it's flying. It's going away. It's deciding that I don't want to deal with it. It's reduced productivity. And it just makes you feel then the less that you do, the less that you make, the more you're going to feel self-doubt and self-confidence is kind of like self-worth, and all that is going to go down because like Gnarly said in the interview before, you just need to do it. You just need to start doing, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes a week. You just need to start doing it because brain is a great, weird, funny thing because we teach it. If you skip all your production sessions that you've wanted to do, if you keep on skipping them every single week, you teach your brain you're safe. And there's nothing to worry about because you're not putting yourself into risk. So your brain gets very comfy with it. It gets comfy in the fear. It gets comfy in that anxiety that if I don't put myself out there and I don't face these fears, I'm safe. But if you keep on doing it, even a little bit, even tiny bit, you also have the power to teach it that nothing bad happened. Nothing bad happened that you worked on it on 10 minutes or something, or example, divergent thinking. That you sit down once a week and you just start without judgment, just throwing things out there and just pulling ideas. And slowly you start doing convergent thinking. And that means that you then can have a workflow, you can have a goal, you can have something towards working for. And the more you start doing that, you're teaching, you're retraining your brain to believe that there's nothing scary and nothing bad is going to happen. And that is the power of just keep at it, keep doing it, and just start doing it. Because after a while, all these things that surround us, they are easier to function. They are easier to, fade away and not allow you to overwhelm yourselves. That means that you have less creative blocks, less fatigue, less feeling overwhelmed, and you can actually start to build the confidence and self-worth. And I think I can't say that this is perfect for me. I say that I'm very much a work in process. So much, completely work in process. But what's helped me is to realize all this and understand example creative thinking models, because it allows me to, it gives me hope and it gives me understanding, is that I'm not alone in any of these feelings. And secondly, I know that there is a ways to go about it, because all these imaginary fears, they're just imaginary. They're not real. And all I can do is sit down and start making music, and I can start finding the enjoyment in it for myself without all the distractions. So next time we will work more on the productivity, actual tips and tricks and techniques on how we can utilize everything that we discussed, this and the previous sessions, on how we can make them more practical and healthy. So today's task is that in your 12 days of creativity, in those days that you already planned, consider creating specific times to try out divergent and convergent thinking. So let's say that you have a day that you've thought about chords or arrangement. You can have like an hour that you've decided, like, let's start with divergent thinking. You just start throwing at ideas, just playing with ideas. And then the next hour, you're taking whatever you have created with those chords and you start pulling it back and thinking, how does it fit to the arrangement? How does it fit into everything? So even inside of those days, you can start utilizing divergent thinking and convergent thinking separately. And on the top of that, you can then separate your learning time from your creative workflow. Have a separate time for it. Don't start Googling stuff. Because as soon as you start watching a video that says, you need to do that, you need to do this, you start feeling again the pressure. It starts distracting you from what you actually wanted and your creativity. So make sure that don't distract yourself and just keep on what you know. That's enough for now. And it's okay that you don't know the synth perfectly. Just like do this and something will happen. Okay, that was the session. Now, any questions at all? Any questions? Let me know or you can reflect on things here. Just bring it to the comment section. Does anyone relate to any of this? And do you find this helpful, talking about example creative thinking models? Someone says, it's relatively rare I come up with a good 8 to 16 bar loop. Then comes the near impossible challenge of expanding it to a full song. I find this to be extremely common with everybody. And if this is the block that you're facing, then think, okay, what are the steps forward from this? And this goes into your workflow. So you have the question. The question is, I have loops, but how can I make it arrangement? The first, you need to start asking more. It's a puzzle. You need to solve a puzzle. You need to start asking more questions. Well, what kind of track do you want to make out of them? Do you have everybody has something in their head, like some kind of expectations. Become very clear in your head what those expectations for yourselves are. So do you want to make a house track? Do you want to make a pop track? What is it that you are actually assuming yourself to do? Then you create a workflow. I talked about workflows in previous sessions. What does it take to make arrangement on that genre that you want to make? Okay, create a session that you're going to research all this. So you have a study time. You're going to actually you're going to study the genre. You can study the arrangements. You're going to study what other people do. You're going to start maybe find some reference tracks that other people are doing. And you pull out the ideas. Okay, this person is using only chords in the intro. The intro is 8 bars long. Okay, how can you start now using whatever is in your 8 to 16 bar loops to create that? And you start creating a very stripped down, like clear, step-by-step guide on how you can take yourself from this to the goal where you want to be. And there's so many videos on YouTube, example, on how to take a loop and turn it into, I have so many videos on this topic. So the issue is not, often the loop thing is more the clarity of where you want to take it. So as soon as you get a clear idea, where do you want to take the 8 to 16 bars? Then the only answer to that is then just to make that happen, just to do it. And also remember that if you create one arrangement, it doesn't need to be the final arrangement. You can create 5 arrangements. Don't be afraid just to throw them in there, loop them, loop, and then just start deleting little bits and create gaps and maybe create a copy of the session and start creating another version of it until something feels right. That would be one of my point about creating tracks from loops. I thought of my ADHD. Yeah, I can understand. But this is the thing, like we talked about brain. So if you know you have ADHD, then figure out ways that your brain functions. What are the ways that do you need a certain type of space for creating? Do you need maybe some accountability? Maybe do you need someone to sit there next to you for an hour just to make sure that you are on the computer while they work on something else? Do you need to go to a cafe with a friend and say that let's create on your laptops, someone is making music, you are making music? Find ways that help you to utilize your brain the way that what works for you. So example, for me, as a neurodiverse person as well, for me, the decision fatigue is a massive thing. It's I can't function after a certain time. Like right now, I really struggle doing this whole session because this is in the evening. But I'm trying to pull through because for me, example, I know that if I have the stream, it's much easier for me to start creating if I have scheduled a stream for myself. If I don't have the stream scheduled, I wouldn't do it. Example, streaming my creative process. So yeah, find ways to kind of control and figure out how your brain works. This is from Steve, not Lizzie. Steve is a part of a Patreon. I've been chatting in the Discord about just playing with gear today. It really helps get past the creative blocks issues some people have. Yeah, absolutely. And this is the divergent thinking. This is you just sit down and you just start playing without judgment. And it really, really helps. There's nothing wrong with borrowing a pre-existing arrangement. Exactly. There really isn't. I do that all the time and it's really helped me this year. Really helped me. That someone else is why would it matter? I find that, I like a song. So I buy the song and I just drop it into Ableton Live and I look at how they done their arrangement. And then I just create using markers, I create a little a template for myself. And then I use the samples or the sounds that I've divergent thought into my session. And I start putting them into the, intro goes here, then verse goes here. We have a lift here. It's really, really helped me to keep focused on how to kind of get the sound into a full arrangement. You're welcome. I often do subtractive arrangement. Alice has some good videos that helped me with it. Yes, Alex actually does. Yeah, Alice Jelfinethe has amazing videos on it. I also have quite a lot of. I also have some videos on subtractive arrangement on my channel. Just and other type of arrangement as well. So it might be helpful. Just by the way. And also in my online course, I show very detailed on how to create arrangement in different ways. The online course on Ableton Live that is on my website. I think this is one of the most important lessons I ever learned on YouTube. Yes, that's so nice to hear. I now understand where this bad feeling comes from. I sometimes have when creating music. It's all about self-worth. Yes, it really is. And if you're not watched my other sessions yet on this whole series of stuff, go and watch them because they are all continuity of this topic. And I talk so much about self-worth, identity, how to kind of manage all that. And that is honestly, this is why like I wrote this book and I can't wait. It's so annoying that it's not out yet. Because I really wish that like I could already put that, because this is about this. And I feel, if I'm honest, I think these topics are so much more important than understanding perfectly how compression works or how to do certain things. They are absolutely important. But how can you learn all that before you feel comfortable creating? Like, you should find balance in your own creativity and understand how to kind of figure it out first in yourself before like just learning about plugins and all this. Like, I feel the industry just wants a shortcut. People want to buy a plugin to make them feel that they can make better music. But you don't need to buy a plugin for it. It's already in your head. The answers are in your head. You don't need the difficult thing is to recognize those things and to understand that you need to work on yourself to figure out how to make music that you love. And these things are the first step for that. And then it's fun to buy lots of plugins and all that, I think. But obviously everybody has a different like perspectives on it. I just personally think that. Another painful thing is mixing versions. I have so many dubs. For example, I have a track and then I have 100 versions with different mixing and mastering, and it's really hard to finish. And that's fine. That's fine that you feel like you have different versions of it and you have all that. The thing is, when you know. And also sometimes you do need to just like learn to also just stop it and give it time. I personally have found that the more I done production, the more I have started to just, because hearing is a muscle that you need to learn to figure out how, like, it's something that you can practice. So it's not only like to learn hearing and learn EQ and learn how to hear compression and how to hear all these things, but it's also what you like, because there's no right and wrong in mixing. You can't, it's not that your track is correctly mixed or wrongly mixed. It's all of your opinion. But what I think is confusing with all this is that you think that there is right or wrong, because what if someone who has more experience listens to your mix and says that it's bad? So you start doubting your skills and doubting your mix because you feel like it's supposed to be something else. But what if you accept that your skills are good as they are, and other people's opinions are just their opinions and it's not theirs to say if it's good or bad? Then it's much easier to accept that something is finished because it's your track and it sounds like this, and this is what you've done now. This is what you have to offer to this world. And that's what it is. And it's nobody's place to say if it's good or bad. Yes, I think that's it. Are we? Yeah, I think we're finished now. Hopefully this was helpful. Go back and listen to the last sessions as well. And here's a task for you for the week 4 task. If you're not signed up yet from the website, go to the website down below and sign up, because you get reminders of these sessions, and you also get then the guidelines for the giveaway, because you can win a lot of cool prizes. So go there, and yeah, that's the only way to join the giveaway. And remember, just a reminder quickly, that the giveaway is not about good or bad tracks. I don't actually care what you make. So good tracks don't win or bad tracks don't win. I care about, you need to submit also a little like a written text about your process this year, this autumn, and how you challenge yourself and what you have figured out about your creativity. I want to see reflection, and I want to see what you have learned about yourself. And the person that I feel like is really expanded their horizon and got outside of their box and done something for themselves that feels good for them, that person wins. So, like, you can submit a bar loop and you can still win. But obviously, if you can finish a track, that's cool, if that's your goal. But that's the whole point of this challenge, is that we're celebrating creativity and creative confidence, not who's bad, or because who am I to say what's good or bad? I think that would defeat the whole point of this whole thing, is that I would be sitting here on my throne and saying, this track is better than everybody else's. That's a bit shit. We're not doing that here. And also, we're not doing that in my Patreon community. That doesn't exist. We're just embracing creativity. We do monthly challenges in there, and we don't give unsolicited advice. We're just giving advice when people ask for it. And also, that's not the truth. My opinion is not the fact. It's just opinion. So we do all this in my Patreon. So if you want nice people to support you, then go there. Okay, bye then. That's it. That's it for today. I'm going to go and eat and rest and sleep. Yes, we only give advice when asked for. That's it. That's my community. Thank you, Steve, aka Lizzie. Okay, bye everybody. Thank you so much for today's session, and you all are amazing, and I appreciate you and your support in my channel. And yes, lots of love, and create lots of creative funness. Bye, everybody. Bye, 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 bye.